So we're here for BPW. The theme for today's event, creating value that attract and retain customers. And I'm sure that many of us are here to learn this, and we're definitely going to learn it. We're going to have our first speaker talk to us now, and she's going to be speaking to us about competency in products and services. Mrs. Gina Olehe. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you.
So today we're going to be looking at competency in your product and service. So if you're selling, what do you need to do? How do you need to sell? You need to know your product, you need to know your service. In the life of any product, how does it start? You start with the development first, then you introduce the product, the growth, then maturity, and eventually saturation and decline. We'll talk about product knowledge, product positioning, sales and marketing, so brand awareness as well. How when you say Omo, some people say Omo Lolo, it could be surf, it could be Ariel, or you say Indomie. It could even be Indomie noodles from Honeywell, but the brand is so strong. Or they say Maggi. It's not Maggi, it's no. But Maggi is Maggi. There's Royco. So we're going to look at all of those things. The marketing mix, so product, price, promotion, place. The 4 Ps. The extension of the 4 Ps, the 7 Ps. Physical evidence, what do you see? Why do some people want Santa Fe wine Hyundai? Why do some people only buy Toyotas? Why do people buy Mercedes-Benz? How about the process of selling? You go to Domino's or Pizza Hut or KFC. The way you are treated today is different from tomorrow. Or you go to one of the branches of GTB, and it's the same way you are treated every time. How about your selling skills? How effectively do you sell? What are the characteristics of an effective seller? How do you make your things interesting? We have services. Yesterday, somebody sent me something from a lady called Madame Faye, Madame Fry, Metopia. You don't go to the market. She goes to the market for you, buys your tomato, rodo. She's not the only one doing this in the market. What makes her different? Why does she have like 1 million? Well, not 1 million. Why does she have 250 people on her chat that order every week? And she charges transportation. She's making 175,000 every week from this business. What are the challenges? How do you sustain? How do you keep selling? Why do people keep coming to you? For photography, for hair and makeup, for your product. If you're selling even Zobo, why you? And then we'll conclude. And in my conclusion, which is something you should even start to look at as we start, it's not what you sell. It's not how you serve. It's how uniquely you sell it. What's the difference you are making? What's the value add? Have you seen the latest Indomie in black packets? That's new. You haven't. There's a new Indomie now, not just the normal one. They tried first with flavors. And then relish, yes, thank you. Because they said, okay, so we're doing Indomie, we have onion, we have pepper soup flavor, we have jollof rice flavor, but okay, everybody else is in the market doing noodles. What more can we do? Then they said, oh, let's do a different, that's now product differentiation, expansion. So the first thing about competency in products and services is to know your product. You can't sell what you don't know. You need to know your product. You need to understand it so that when you're talking to somebody about it, for example, if somebody is here talking to us about the Hyundai So Natural, they need to be able to tell us. I'm not going to be asking him or her, so is it fabric, seats, or leather? They already know. They know the size of the engine. They know how many miles it can, what's the highest on the speedometer. They know the tank. You have to know everything about the product. You have to understand it. You need to be able to understand also your customer. So if it's a young lady who's just had a baby. Maybe you want to sell her the Santa Fe because they're carrying baby bags, they're carrying car seat. If it's somebody who maybe is 70, she just needs to go to church and back and see her grandchildren. Maybe you want to give her the Elantra. So you have to know your product. And then, of course, understand the benefits. If you're selling Zobo, or you're selling ginger Zobo or tiger nuts, you need to understand and be able to explain to your buyer or potential buyer what it does. Reel up the benefits on your hand, one by one, so that you capture his or her attention and you excite or entice him to buy, to want to buy. Product positioning is also very important. Once you know your product, you have to also know how to position your product. For example, you can't go to Iceland and then start to sell them ice. Like how we sell pure water or ice blocks here. Why? Because it's freezing there. Or you go to Dubai and then you want to sell them raincoats. Does it rain in Dubai? It's hot, it's humid. So, actual benefits and even perceived. I'll talk a bit about this. So, an actual benefit of, for example, having a Mercedes-Benz, apart from the fact is that, oh, it's luxurious. Oh, sorry, we're in Hyundai, and they've graciously given us the place. So let's use Hyundai. Look at that beautiful blue Santa Fe to your right, or to your left, so to my right. I say to you, it's beautiful. But if you enter its car, if you sink into the seat, so it's perceived. You don't know, because you haven't actually opened the door or entered. So you perceive that it's going to be really super comfortable. You need to be able to sell that, to position the product, so that it's different from the other car outside. So the advantage is when you're differentiating your product. So obviously, these are advantages that, you know, like value proposition, things that another product wouldn't have, that your own product or service would have. Like the lady I was talking to you about that will buy the tomatoes, pepper, she would go and buy it. She'll put it on an Okada or a Max if it's not too much. If it's a lot, she'll put it in a car and she'll deliver to your house. You haven't stepped out. You're there in your house watching African Magic. Or, what's the other one? Telemundo. Or Z-World, as the case may be. So it should generate customer value. This value must be perceived by the buyer. And it should be difficult to copy. Because at the end of the day, everybody copies leading product. So you have a car. Other people are making cars. You're selling wigs or hair. We're women. People are selling wigs. The next person copies and sells it. You're selling juices or smoothies. But how is your own different? Is it your packaging? Do you put an extra ginger? Is your packaging the fact that, you know, is it paper? Is it plastic? Does it have a straw? Because somebody made 1 million? Are you sure you can make the 1 million? What conditions? Are you going to repeat the same conditions he or she did? You need to check. How many people are already selling catfish? Who are the buyers of your catfish when you go through the farm process and you do 4 or 5 months? How about the feed for the catfish? How big? Are they going to grow as big as the person who made 1 million? You have to do your research before you go into any business, especially for the services, also for the products. Then introduce. How do you want to introduce the product? And of course, it grows. You get customers. You're able to sustain, so maturity. And eventually, when A, B, C know that you're doing that, everybody copies, you get to saturation, and most times decline. If they're not everyday essential products, you have to work very hard to stay in the market. Value proposition. So, what is in it for me? This is looking at it from the buyer. What will motivate him or her? There are rational factors, and then there are personal factors. Rational factors are things that you can see, you can hold on to. You highlight the benefits of the product. You need a car to move you around. Or if it's a product like, if you're selling hair relaxer, or you're selling Indomie, if it's food for your baby, whatever it is you're selling, or suddenly the rains are here, you're selling an umbrella. or you're selling a raincoat and the raincoat has a hood, a pin-up, and you say to the person, this umbrella is good, but if there's heavy wind, then it collapses. Mine has been tested in Jos, where there's winds of so and so turbine. Try it. In fact, don't pay. Take the umbrella. Use it for this whole rainy season. If it works or if it collapses, return it to me, no cost. If it works, you can then pay. In other developing countries, they're already doing this. They said in QVC in America, in the UK, and they say, take the product, it's a blender, go and use it. If it doesn't work, after 1 month, return it, and you get your full money back. We don't do it here yet now, I don't know, in Nigeria. I don't know whether we'll ever be able to. Because what you'll find is when you're looking for the person next month, where is he or she? Voicemail. You won't find him, you'll find her. So if you buy a blender anywhere here, you have to pay for it. So the benefits, emphasize the savings to be made, state the functionality. It's good, it doesn't spoil. You can use it for smoothie, you can use it for tomatoes, you can clean it, you can even use the smaller one for dry things like a goosey. You sell the product based on what the product can do. Or you sell your service. I take photographs at weddings, I'll be there the night before. You can do your makeup, I'll start it off. As you are driving out, I'll film you, everything. I can also film your mother and your sisters and your brothers. You sell the entire package. You can even throw in 1 or 2 things. In fact, I'll come with my makeup artist, don't pay. Those are the little things. Then personal factors, sentimental things. Oh, my father always drove a Hyundai. He went to Korea, he schooled in Korea. Hyundai, of course, is from Korea. And I checked, they've been in Nigeria for 20 years. You may just want to own that based on just that fact. Your father was in Korea. Maybe your pride or your ego. The big girls in Lagos, or in fact, Lagos big girls are all driving Hyundais. I must own a Hyundai. You tell your husband, I'm going to be 40. Don't buy a Toyota, must be Hyundai. To gain approval, maybe you're a man and you're toasting a girl and you see that, in fact, the girl likes Hyundais. So those are personal factors. And then the marketing mix, which is very important. I spoke about that before we started. Know your product. Determine your price. How do you want to enter the market? If your product is good, even if it's good, if it's selling at 10 naira more, do you think people would buy? Why will they buy? Where are you selling? Are you in a corner hidden? Are we looking for Hyundai and Akiadeshola? How many Hyundais are there? How willing do you think he or she is to come to look for you if you're not out in the open? Why do some people choose Awolowo Road or Admiralty in Lekki or Akiadeshola or Adjola or Deku beside Park and Shop? Why is it not Aniemia Hana Road and then you're looking for Aniemia Hana Road? Where is it? And you're checking Google, it's not on Google. Place, very important. Then promotion. How are you selling? Do people know? People say to me, oh, have you heard about this? I'm like, no. What are you doing wrong? You need to advertise your product. You need to put yourself out there. Are you on Instagram, for instance? Are you doing word of mouth? Are you doing posters? Are you doing flyers? We'll talk about a little bit more of that when we talk about the impact of social media on marketing. These are the additional 3. So you have the first 4. These are the additional 3 pieces. Sometimes, if you go to a marketing school, some people go to university for 4 years to read marketing. One of my son's friends in university is reading marketing for the whole 4 years. So I'm mentioning it here in 1 minute. But these are the additional things, 7 Ps. So physical evidence. What do people see? Where do you go to? You're so happy when you get the service done. Why do you keep going back? Because of the evidence. The service is good all the time. The product is good all the time. Every time you buy it, it's the same meat pie. How about the people? You walk into Hyundai. How well are you welcomed at the door? Are they beating you up at the gate? You can't enter. This gate doesn't open. Go and turn around. Go and park. Are you welcome? Thank you for coming to Hyundai. It's so nice to have you with us today. Please come through. Won't you be happier with that kind of welcome? Yes, you would be. So you have a good product, you have a good service, but how about your people? People now even argue that your product or your service may be good, but your people, the people selling your product, the people giving your service can bring down your business in a minute. And they may or may not tell you, your customer who's been hurt, who's been treated badly or humiliated because he or she wants to spend their own hard-earned currency. So you need to be very careful with your people. And then the process, consistency of your service. Today the bread is good, tomorrow is not good. It won't work. If it's good all the time, then you're likely to have 99% of your people come back. So as I said initially, the 4 steps to effective selling is your product knowledge, how you prospect, how do you get people to buy. So I remember years ago when I worked in a bank, I think at Jose Adeogo, would go in teams of 3 or 4s, and they'll tell us how to prospect, how to go and talk to people to say, come and open an account in my bank. The teachers would go out in groups. Your ability to have people want to come and join you is key. Then after sales service, for in cases where your product maybe has a fault, do you run away? How able are you to provide people with, to say, oh, please, I'll help you do that. Oh, did the weave come up? I'll tack it for you, no extra cost. Or do you say, oh, that's 1,000 naira. That's the weave that you did the day before. The thread has come off. So in most cases, he or she wasn't jumping up and down. You didn't fix it well. It sometimes happens. Do you do it with a frown or with a smile? Promotion, selling of products or services. How do you sell? They talked about Tomi Odusi here, and she came up and said what she did. If you Google her, you'll see what she does, from being Shalewa on Tenso to being a media, having a media company. How does she advertise that? Public relations, sales, promotions. Lately, I think Diamond Bank have said you can win 1 million, or is it 5 million, from 100 naira. Did you see that advert where 2 children have 100 naira? Who's seen it? They give it to the father and suddenly he wins 1 million. What kind of adverts? How about the Airtel one with the 2 ladies and the data? Lovely, right? You don't, even if you don't have Airtel, doesn't it catch you? It's beautiful advertisement. It's very important. How do you sell? Then personal selling as well is key. Even your being, your whole person as well. Then direct mail, sending letters out, or emails as well, which is where we are now, telemarketing, exhibitions, from the trade fair. Even small pop-ups and shows. We have young boys and girls now, they take places like Harbor Points. They pay 10,000 for a small space and they sell t-shirts for 5,000 naira. These are 18-year-olds. The internet, sponsorship events. I have never been to a Hyundai building. But because Hyundai is sponsoring BPW today, I know about Hyundai, and I've been privy to seeing their beautiful cars. So is that not a way of knowing Hyundai? How many of you people have been into Hyundai before? That's another way of selling your product. Before we go today, some people may even pick up a car and drive it off. What are the challenges we face when we're selling or when we want to sell? Poor listening skills. So you're not even hearing what the prospective customer is saying. Or even your buyer who has already bought your product and they're saying the product is not good. Don't be annoyed. Listen. Listen with an open mind. They're trying to help you improve your product. Then poor questioning. You're questioning, you're asking questions, and you're asking open-ended questions. It's good, Abby. You like it, right? Let him or her say and explain how they found the product or your service. Maybe even send them something that doesn't have a name, anonymous, so that they can be honest with you to say how badly you treated them. How they expected that maybe you should have started earlier, or how they were kept waiting at the reception for 30 minutes before anybody came to say hello, or how they sent you an email and for 1 week you didn't answer until she or he had to send a reminder. In some cases, reminder 1, reminder 2. How about distractions? You're talking to somebody or you're listening to somebody and you're answering your phone. It's so unacceptable, but people do it, no? You're in an office or you walk into somewhere, they're even trying to buy something, and they're talking to their friends, and how now, how are you doing? Did you see, is it APC or is it PDP that? No, it's just so wrong. So wrong. Arguing with your customer or your potential customer. You know, you say you're wrong, you don't even know, you didn't use it well. Who are you talking to? Somebody who's using her own hard-earned money to buy your product. It's rude. And then you want the person to walk off. And let him go, let him carry business go, just make somebody else come. No. You know, you don't know who he or she will tell and who they will tell. And then it's all over the place. That Gina and Annie fracture business doesn't even serve customers well. So be careful as you're dealing with your customers or your potential customers. Very important. So we mentioned challenges. These are solutions that we profess. So focus on the main points of your product or your service. Sell, sell, sell. What do we do? What does the product do? Make notes. I'm not saying write a book. You know what I mean? But when he or she is talking, oh, I want a car that can fit 7 people because we have 5 children. You know, listen. Or I want a car that is low or high. Listen. Be patient. And ask as you go along. Make sure you understand what's being said. Also be logical as you're presenting the product or your service. Don't be confused. Don't act like you don't even know what you're talking about. So knowledge, very important. Again, be sure of where you want to prospect or sell. Don't go and sell nappies to somebody who has finished having her babies. Or don't go and sell a car to somebody who can't drive. After sales service, very key. I mentioned that earlier. Know your product so that when they ask you questions, you can answer. Check that your customer is satisfied, and then pass along your details so that if there are questions, they can answer. Qualities of an effective salesperson, I'm just rounding up now. Keep to time. If you have an appointment to sell, make sure you're there on time. Make sure you're professional, well-dressed, decent. Make sure you communicate effectively. Eye contact is key. And then never run down your competitors. We've been here now. I've not said Kia is not good or Honda is not good. If you're Hyundai, sell your own product. Don't say another person's own is not good. If you're doing wigs or hair, make sure you don't run down the person next door. Sometimes you enter a mall in Lekki, there are 4 salons. It's your choice. Don't say, don't enter that salon, no. Their water is not good. No. Very, very wrong.